They call me the Doctor.
I'm the Doctor.
I am the Doctor.
I'm the Doctor.
I'm the Doctor.
I am the Doctor.
I'm the Doctor.
I'm the Doctor.
Greetings, humans, Daleks, Time Lords, and Zygons. You're listening to Exterminating Doctor Who.
This is the show where we take Doctor Who's most popular episodes and debate if they're really as good as their reputations.
With your hosts, Aidan Gula.
And me, George Ellis.
And in today's episode, we are talking about the Day of the Doctor, because it is episode 50, and it seems appropriate.
Yes.
Bit cheesy, but here we are.
I mean, we've got to talk about it eventually.
Exactly.
So why as well talk about
exactly.
it in our last episode?
In our last episode, that is correct. It is
I don't like it being our last episode.
the final time you will have... That intro you just heard, that's the last time you'll hear that.
Well, unless you're a fanatic and you
Go back and listen to them over and over again. But for all intents, if you've been listening to these from episode 1, this is the last time you will hear this. Why are you leaving? You may ask. We like your podcast. Where are you going?
That's nice of you.
This isn't the last podcast we'll ever do.
Yeah, this is the last time you hear those words, but is it the last time you'll hear our voices?
No, Exterminating Doctor Who as a banner is coming to an end, but it will be regenerating into something else. Like, for example, if you're thinking, well, all this time you've been talking about what's going to happen in the centenary, what's going to happen in the 60th anniversary, and now I'm not going to hear your thoughts. Yeah, you will.
You will.
But it will just be on a different podcast, as yet unannounced. But it will be coming soon at some point.
Yes.
When we did our Stolen Earth episode, I went, this is my favourite episode ever. But sometimes I think it's the Day of the Doctor. And then I look at clips from the Day of the Doctor, or watch Day of the Doctor, and I go, this is my favourite episode. As I am wearing a Day of the Doctor t-shirt today, I think I'm going to say, yes, under your suit, I think I'm going to say that this is my favourite episode. Even though I've said that about Stolen Earth, and maybe even Turn Left. But I'm going to say it again here.
Why?
I think it's one of those episodes that an anniversary special is always fun. So you've always got the nostalgia, you've always got the fan service, you've always got those really nice bits. But what this episode does more than a lot of other anniversaries is it actually gives you a story that's worth your time. I think it's one of those things I say about films that are coming out now, and they just go, do you remember this character you used to love? Here's them doing it again. And I go, but why? Why are we doing this other than we want to make money? This is one of those times where you answer that. You completely answer why we're doing this. You're not just bringing David Tennant back because, oh, hey, look, it's David Tennant. You're not just putting John Hurt in because, oh, hey, this will give us viewing figures. You're going, we are creating something here that's going to be that's going to have a lasting impact and is just going to really change things as we know it. And not only, I watched looking at research and looking at reviews and things like that for this episode.
He does research. I just watched the episode.
I found a quote from David Tennant where he said something along the lines of, it's a celebration of all Doctor Who, but it moves the legacy forward. And I think that's what's important. It says, let's celebrate the past 50 years, but let's set up the next 50. And I think that's why I love this episode so much.
There is a fundamental change that happens in this episode. It is not just a special where you go into it and it's like, oh, look at what we... look at Doctor Who. Oh, it's happy. La, 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 la. Everyone goes home at the end. We've just stopped an alien. We fundamentally alter a key factor of current Doctor Who for the better. In a good way that doesn't take away from what it was, but it does give us something to move on to in the future. It is a special that is actually important to the plot and the story. It's a character piece, arguably, on... Well, not even arguably. It is, to me, it's a character piece on the Doctor.
All three of them.
Just the Doctor as a concept. What does it... Number one, what does it mean to be the Doctor? Who is the Doctor? What does the Doctor do in the future? What does the Doctor do in the past? Who can the Doctor really be? Is he one of these people? Is he all of them at one time? Is he them separately? What is he? It is a character study on what is it to be the Doctor. And ultimately, it is to save people and change his own damn timeline.
Yeah.
For no gain other than that of the people. Because he doesn't remember it until, obviously, Capaldi and that kind of afterwards. But he still has to live with the idea up until that moment that he killed everyone.
Because it's one of those things like as well, like you could, there could be the argument that it does undermine the 9th Doctor's, 10th Doctor's, and even the 11th. I know the 11th Doctor doesn't really mention the Time Wall that much because Stephen Moffat kind of said he got a bit bored of the constant mentioning he wanted to do something different.
Yeah.
But then he still chose to do the 50th on that. Which
Well,
I
even
think
then,
is,
by not mentioning it, coming back to it in such a big way, maybe it's more impactful.
exactly. And I think like there is the argument to say it undermines it, but it doesn't because the War Doctor did wipe out Gallifrey. That did happen. Then the 9th Doctor dealt with it. Then the 10th Doctor dealt with it. The 11th Doctor kind of wanted to move on from it, but then finally came around to thinking, I could change this. I have dealt with it. I have killed people. But what if, whatever this weird situation I've ended up in, this gives me a chance. It's not that the Doctor could have ever had just gone back and, oh, let's just change it for the hell of it.
It's time locked. They can't travel back there.
Exactly. They cannot do that. But now the Doctor has a chance to. He's somehow got a chance to. Time has gone wibbly wobbly and he has the chance to do it here. And he goes back and he does do it. But he did do those things. So I remember at the time, I loved it. Obviously, I went to the cinema to watch it.
Look at me. And when you were back, just because you went to like the Doctor Who event stuffs and all that.
Well, we've done Time Fracture now. So.
I've caught up finally. But just because back then you went to the cinema, I was on a sofa.
Yes. Well, it's like I did enjoy it, but I remember coming out of it afterwards being like, does that mean when I watch 9th Doctor, 10th Doctor and they talk about the Time War, does that mean that didn't actually happen? No, it did. But now it didn't. And I think that's the clever way of doing it, where it is a best of both worlds situation where you can watch those episodes and go, he has done it. If you're following the timeline in order, he has done it there. But in terms of real time of what then happened from the future, no, he didn't. But he has those memories of when he did. And I think that's the best way of doing it, that you have Gallifrey gone and then it comes back and you move on from there. I think that's the best way to have done it.
You're retrospectively fixing it, but that doesn't mean it wasn't initially broken in the first place.
It doesn't change what came before. Unlike the Timeless Child, which is one of those things where you're gone, this is the thing now, and it always has been, and if you don't believe it is, then you are wrong. This is one of those going, this is the thing now. It hasn't always been this way.
We're introducing,
but it is now, and you can still have it the other way. That's how you do this kind of thing, and I love it for that.
It's incredibly well written to make that work, because it would have been so easy to fuck it up, but it isn't. It just works. And what it does is you just have this discovery of the guilt of because this is the thing, the Doctor wouldn't have fixed that moment if he hadn't have done it initially and felt the guilt. It's all, it had to happen the way it did. Does not take away from the moment, because the moment is a cause.
The moment.
I know. The moment, what that is that's the start. And because that happens, we then get to Matt Smith wanting to fix it. Has to happen.
Exactly. You can't change something you haven't done.
Yes.
So we can't get to this point without doing this point. And I just think, it's one of those things, I love that idea. That we get to the 50th anniversary and Moffat thinks, what do I want to write this about? Because the tales that I remember, there was an article that came out when Moffat was talking about writing it. And basically, I feel so sorry for what that man went through trying to write this series. Because he was like thinking, I've got to do the 50th anniversary. And he's never felt so much pressure in his life. There was one point where Matt Smith's contract hadn't yet been renewed. There was no confirmation from David Tennant. He assumed Christopher Eccleston wouldn't want to be in it. The only confirmed actor he had for the 50th was Jenna Coleman. And he said that I was basically in the corner of the room crying to myself because I thought, how am I ever going to make this work? And then obviously everything fell into place. But like the stuff that he kind of was like, going, I can't handle this. And then yet he still pulled it off. And the fundamental basis of where he was like, what can I write a 50th anniversary about? Time Lords. It's the logical place to go. And without doing it in a way where it's this just pointless, we're just dealing about with Time Lords for a bit, by having something like the Zygons in it and focusing in on the Time War as well, it actually creates a real adventure. and it's actually a standalone story that has an impact going forward, has an impact coming up to it. It's like the culmination of the past. It's like I said, it's the culmination of the past 50 years have all been leading to this point. But then this is also chapter 1 of the next stuff. And I just love that idea that he just fundamentally stripped back Doctor Who and went, let's just do Time Lords and Daleks. But let's make it its own thing.
What I finding just thinking about it, because obviously with Zygons, the way this episode feels, it doesn't feel like an episode. It does feel just like a shorter than most films film. Because you have these threads which are intertwined and then eventually culminate in the end. Whereas usually Doctor Who, you either have like 2 parallel stories maybe, or even just the one. But in this, you have like the Zygons and the Time Lords and the War Doctor coming into this to discover it's a bigger story.
Because like, I like that it is focused because kind of fundamentally, there's only really 3 locations, really. You've got the forest with the Zygons, you've got the gallery in modern day, and you've got the stuff on Gallifrey. They are your main 3 locations. Yes, we go elsewhere, but they're our main 3. And they are your plot points. But like you said, they all work together and they all come together. And some things run separately at times, but they all come together in the end. I think that's just a really clever way of having, because it's basically all 3 of their doctors, what they're up to. The War Doctor's on Gallifrey, 10th Doctor's with the Zygons, 11th Doctor's here. But they all come together in a way that they don't just feel like, oh, hey, all the Doctors are here. Which I love the 5 Doctors from the 80s. I love that. That's probably a sense of, let's just lift all these Doctors and then put them here. Why? Because we want them here. This actually feels like this is 3 separate stories that just crash together and then manage to work off from that.
And they all
complement each other in other ways.
They have to. And for me, I watched it yesterday and I went into this and I was like, oh, for God's sake, those Zygons. Because I am not a huge fan of the Zygons as a concept, honestly. They annoy me slightly. But I was watching it, I was like, But then the Zygons, the point of them is to create this conflict at the end. And the idea that he wants to stop another genocide because he's already done one. And then he stops that one. It's there not just because they wanted to put the Zygons in, it's there because it's in there to be a parallel of what the Doctor did. And therefore give him reason to remind himself to fix what he did. It's a very important moment. Just wanted to just say, it just all flows together. It does. It's vital.
Because it's one of those things like the Zygons are an iconic Doctor Who villain, and they were before this episode. But it's one of those ones you kind of go, why? Because they were only in 1 episode in the 70s. And yet they've gained this, we are an iconic status where Big Finish were using them and all these people were using them. It's like, they were only in 1 episode. And I remember there was a time when David Tennant was interviewed and they said, if you had to face 1 villain, who would you face? And he said the Zygons. And he obviously never got that in his era. So when he's coming back, what's your logical villain that you give him? Who's the one he wanted to face that he didn't? Let's give him Zygons. But now let's make a story that's not just saying, hey, David, look, it's a Zygon. You're saying this is going to add to this story. But also let's just put a pin in that. We'll come back to it. And we'll have one of the best 12th Doctor scenes you've ever seen ever when the 12th Doctor gives you this amazing speech. So it's like, it works here. It gives David what he wants. It gives us what we want. And later down the line, we're going to see something incredible. And that's what I'm saying about it's setting up the future. But it sets up the future, but it doesn't feel like you come to the end of it and you go, what was the point of that? You'll find out later. You still feel like a complete story has been told there.
The thing, it's everything in this just works. Even bits I don't like, because I don't know why I don't like the Zygons. They just annoy me slightly. But they just...
they are just shape-shifting aliens at the end of the day.
I've seen that.
How many times have you seen that concept within Doctor Who itself?
That's a fair point. But, yeah. But even I'd say that's a problem, for want of a better word, with the episode. I can't fault it.
Yeah.
Because it's not a fault. It's just a personal issue I've got, which I need to get over.
Yeah, it's just the idea, even going to the 60th, with these rumours that Celestial Toymaker's going to be in it. Even Beep the Meep. You've got this idea where you're kind of going, that's a random villain to put in. Of all people, no Daleks, no Cybermen, no Master. And it's a bit like, they're your obvious ones. They are your obvious ones. That's when it feels fan-wanky, is when you go, Daleks, Master, Cybermen, Silurians, Sontarans, Jadoon, Weeping Angels. Go, whoa, all right. All right. That's what you do at Time Fracture when you have fun and you run through all these things. But I want a cohesive story here. And that's
no
not,
fan wanks for me.
that's not how you create it. And here you go, here's the Zygons. And you go, oh, really? Those guys from the 70s? Huh, sure. Why? And then you watch it and you go, oh, I get it. It's for the parallel, like you said. It's to give David what he wants. And it's just to create a plot that isn't just, let's look at the Time War. Why are we dealing with the Time War? We don't really know, but it's
Time War is a result of the of like he's like, oh yeah, Time War. Oh, I could do something similar. It's all important.
Yeah. And it's also just, if we're lifting David Tennant out of his timeline, it's kind of like he's doing his own adventure with the Zygons, and then he crashes into the Matt Smith storyline, but he's accidentally brought the Zygons with him. I just kind of like that all three of them are doing different things. They're going, oh, we're dealing with, but let's all deal with this first, then we'll go back and deal with what we were doing. And I like that.
It's just, same. I agree. Let's move on from the Zygons.
Let's move on from the Zygons. The biggest one, because, as I was saying, because I'm watching Doctor Who with my boyfriend at the moment, we are frustratingly like hours away from Day of the Doctor because we did Name of the Doctor last night, which means that we have to do Day of the Doctor tonight, even though I'm recording the podcast before that. But when we watched that last night, it got to the War Doctor reveal at the end. And I kind of expected his reaction to be like, whoa! And he was kind of a bit more like, wait, what? And he's like, what's going on here? And I was like, and he was going, But that's not to say he was disappointed in it. He was just like, what's going on?
He's just like, oh.
And I kind of love the impact there. And it's none of those things, like I was literally saying earlier, Neil Patrick Harris is a bit of stunt casting. At the end of the day, John Hurt is too. You get someone that's been in Alien, Harry Potter, V for Vendetta, other stuff. Been in a billion things, that man.
Other stuffs that we can't remember.
Other iconic stuff. Naked Silver Servant, that's one.
Never heard of that.
Elephant Man,
Heard of
that's
that.
another one. What else is he in? Merlin. I wouldn't say it's as iconic, but it's something he's in. You
heard it. John Hurt from Merlin.
Yes, if you vaguely remember, he did the voice of the dragon. People can you can get him in and make him a doctor and it go nowhere.
It could have just been, like a stunt casting.
Yeah.
He's a doctor now. Why?
But instead it actually gives you one of the most interesting incarnations of the Doctor. In that they go, this is the man who broke the promise and stopped being the Doctor. But actually, he is still being the Doctor.
And initially,
I've always found interesting. Like they did this is perhaps a bit more on Big Finish, but it's still relevant because you do see it in the episode as well. In that, yes, he has at the moment in the episode, you see him wielding a gun. Does he shoot anybody with that gun? No, he just does a bit of graffiti.
It's a bit of a weird moment.
He's still running around with a sonic screwdriver. He's still going around saving people and doing these things. He's stolen this weapon, but that's really like this last resort, weighing up. It's one of those times where it's like, would you rather kill one person to save a million people or kill a million people to save one person? That kind of thing. He's very much just like this outweighs. I'm going to have to do this. I have to blow up this planet. Otherwise,
he has to make the decision.
There's going to be more. This is where he's at this point. He's seen these battles, seen these things, and he's, I have to do this. But he's not. It's not like he's gone around wielding loads of these weapons. He's not gone around being like guns on both arms, shooting Daleks. He's always. He still has been the Doctor. He's just gone on around on ships, saving people, stopping Daleks. He's not done anything that out of the ordinary. But because he's involved in a war, he sees himself as, I'm not him anymore.
Yeah.
It's more of a sense of he broke the promise. He broke the promise that he stopped being the Doctor, not from actual actions, but just from the Doctor's own self-shame. And I've just loved that idea. That actually, especially, obviously, I'm saying it is in the episode though, but when you do listen to the Big Finishes and stuff, you kind of get these adventures where you're listening to them and you're kind of going, well, what's so special about this? Because this just feels like a Doctor Who adventure, but with John Hurt in the role. But it's actually that every time he goes into just a base under siege story with the Sontarans. He stops the Sontarans, defeats the Daleks. There's every bloody Dalek show up in every one of those.
They kind of have to.
Yeah, exactly. So he does all this stuff. And I feel like you could place any Doctor in this situation. It doesn't feel that extraordinary. But it's moments where he saves the day. And then at the end, where most Doctors would feel like, yay, I saved the day. John Hurt's War Doctor kind of feels like, I shouldn't have done that. Because he goes, I'm involved in a war. I shouldn't be involved in a war. Why am I here? And every time somebody goes, oh, thank you, Doctor, every single time, he's like, do not call me that.
I'm going to hit you.
I am not the Doctor anymore.
Just
And
strangle him. Ah!
I just love that idea that he is the one who broke the promise. But what did he do that's not that doctory? When late in 9th Doctor, 10th Doctor, 11th Doctor, 12th Doctor stories, where people go, you remind me of a soldier. The reason he always looks so uncomfortable is because it's reminding him of his self-shame of being involved in a war.
Because to be involved with a war means to be on a side, and to be on a side means you are fighting it. No matter whether it's right or wrong, he still believes he's in a war. And he is a factor of the war. So he is a soldier.
Yeah.
And he doesn't like that, and that's the shame, and it's very interesting. And it's fascinating how you get this character who initially could have been just Christopher Eccleston, but instead it is a different incarnation of the Doctor, and I think it works better.
I do.
By being something incredibly contained in just this war. He is the war Doctor. It creates this kind of version of the Doctor who is nothing but a soldier. And then Christopher Eccleston is dealing with that guilt and is closest to the War Doctor personality-wise. But he can still distance himself. Because I don't think you could have had Eccleston move on straight after this and be like, I'm okay now. Because he wouldn't. But a regeneration gives him that
chance to give a break.
That distance. He can kind of distance himself from the previous iteration in a way.
Yeah, I've always thought the same thing. Because yes, Eccleston was originally supposed to be in this. When Moffat wrote the original script, it was with Eccleston. He gave the script to Eccleston. They were in talks and Eccleston said, I don't like that script. I'm just bantering about being the Doctor before. So then he went away, Moffat rewrote it, created the War Doctor, showed Eccleston the script. He went, now you've got your script. And I think that does work out better. Because like you said, can I see the 8th Doctor doing this? No, I can't. Can I see the 9th Doctor doing this? No. You need a separate incarnation to do this. You need a separate incarnation to have all this shame. And that's what I think sums it up. I think when you've got the line like, great men are forged in fire, it is the privilege of lesser men to light the flame. In that he's talking, I am the lesser man. I am not the great man here. But actually when he says it, he is the great man. And he was forged in the flames of the Time War. And I just really like that being its own incarnation, where it's not something that's tacked onto another Doctor we already know. To go, here's, you like this Doctor? Here's more about that Doctor. Here's a new Doctor. And it's one of those senses, it's one of those cases of, this is actually a gap in the time. It's not like the Fugitive Doctor, where they've gone, here's a Doctor. Why? Yeah. There is a gap
where?
here.
No, when is the Fugitive Doctor?
Chibnall's just gone, whenever you want. Like, there is a gap here. We never saw the regeneration.
Why is the Doctor fugitive? Oh.
We never saw the regeneration from 8 to 9. There is a gap there.
Why is the Doctor here?
And it makes
Chibnall
sense
doing anything here? Chibnall, he's having a stroke.
So I really love the War Doctor's inclusion. I think it makes a thing where you could say it's a bit like he was never foreshadowed before. He just appeared in the last episode before. It could be like a bit random to be focusing the episode on this new incarnation, but you're focusing it on the Time War. And if we want to see the Time War, we've got to see the Doctor in the Time War. And if we're going to see the Doctor in the Time War, we're not going to give it to 8, we're not going to give it to 9, we're going to give it to this new guy. And I think that makes perfect sense.
And he's not a number, which I like as well.
He's not a number.
Because he doesn't want to class it as a number. He wants to forget that moment in his history. So he's just like, it didn't happen. But it did. No. It did, Doctor. Look at the pictures. This is when you were, no. Just gets a pen, scribbles it out.
Yeah. I think that when you've got then 10 and 11 in it as well, you're not even then. Yeah, I do always love seeing Doctors meet each other because you get to see, will they get along or not? And 10 and 11 do get along.
They have moments.
But they do clash over things. Like 10 is, as they say, there is the man who regrets, the man who forgets. 10 is damaged, and he is still, even though Eccleston was the one who was able to move on and begin to see the joys of life again.
10 kind of backtracks a little.
10 is still struggling with it. And you get to 11, like I said, it's barely ever mentioned. I can think of a line in Doctor's Wife where he mentions it. Maybe he mentions it at some point in series 5. He must do it at some point.
He tries to, because he's trying to move away from it.
It's rarely mentioned. And I kind of like that those two then clash, where it's almost like the audience who have been going, have we just forgotten about the Time War? It's almost like they're going, whoa, why aren't you talking about it? And he's gone, because I can't. If I keep talking about it forever, I'm just going to be in a pit of self-misery all the time. Going to be him.
And all about don't want to go.
Exactly. And I just like that you have these two characters that they are just Doctors that follow along from each other. They are the two most popular New Who Doctors. You could, because people find them very similar in some aspects. But you see a clear point where they both clash and do not agree on the same thing. And I think that's always interesting to see when you get two doctors together.
It is just interesting because they're the same character, just at different points in their arcs. And there's not often in any form of media you can get the same character at two different points of their lives having a conversation with each other. Because it's like in reality, like if I were to get you to have a conversation with bully you, you'd probably have a...
I was never a bully. I was just an arsehole to teachers. I never harmed fellow students.
Just the teachers.
He
was a teacher bully.
It's
a progressive bully.
I was a pest.
That's the one. If I got you to talk to pest you'd probably agree on some things, but you'd also probably have some differences.
I fought the power.
The power was fought. Lovely.
Yes. I made it to the paper.
He was the war Aidan.
I was the war Aidan. Yes, that was me.
I just want to mention the cast.
Okay.
Everyone's acing it. Everyone involved.
Everyone.
Just everyone.
Even Clara.
Clara, yeah. It was a moment where her theme came in and I was like, ugh. But...
Do you know what's so funny? As we've been watching Series 7, we've got to the end of Series 7. She's only in half of Series 7. And Jake is already going, I'm fed up with this woman. And I've gone, she's in it for 2 more series. And he's gone, ugh. And one of the things he says, every time he hears it, and he goes, ugh, I can't stand her theme. And I go, that makes me, you, George, my mum, every time that bloody theme starts. Like I was saying to him, I was going, I love Maury Gold. I think he's incredible. He made one track mistake in his entire time, and that was Clara's.
And he played it too much as well.
And just bloody every time it comes in.
The thing is, though, Tennant leaves in this episode, and the moment the doors close, hers kicks up, and I'm like, why? Like she's not doing anything important here. No, it's a conversation.
Just a bloody theme. And I just she's like, we got to the end of Series 7. I don't like her in Series 7 at all.
Really?
At all.
Oh.
Even though we've complained about her in Series 8 and 9, I find her more tolerable in those than I do Series 7. I find her really unbearable here.
Lovely.
So does Jake. But I find that in Day of the Doctor, this is the start of when she starts to get better. Because we've dropped the impossible girl stuff. All that her obnoxious being the most important woman in the universe bollocks has gone.
Arguably, is that not the Doctor?
Yeah.
Yeah. How about that? Hey!
But no, she's more important because she saved the Doctor. Shut up. But here is when you take away all those big fantasy things about her and you just go, she's just a school teacher now, having fun adventures with him. I'm like, I'm with you. I immediately like her better. And I think even though I always do still think she works much better with Capaldi than she does Smith, her chemistry with Smith here far stronger than it is in Series 7.
Yes.
Not as strong as it will be with Capaldi,
but stronger
than it was.
You've seen it so far, kind of thing. Yeah, I agree with you. And I think Matt is good in this. He's not over the top. We have a lot of serious moments from him. Tennant is great.
Bar the hair.
And Tennant, the suit. I've got to ask, mate. Like,
it was the same suit. It's the one he kept.
No, I know, which is great, but like, you've gone a bit.
4 years had passed since he last wore it, so
a little bit of weight. I mean, it did fit. It fit, but like the buttons were straining, and that just have him undo it. Like, come on. But the hair, my word. I know you were probably doing it for a role, which Aidan's told me, but like, come on, like. You act brilliant. My favourite part in it by far.
At least
Who was your stylist?
At least they fixed it for the 60th.
Oh, God, they have, I know.
We know that, thank God, this is not a permanent thing going
we see
forward.
It on set and they've CG'd it down.
Yeah. Weirdly, he actually looks older in this one than I think he does on the filming pictures.
I think it's because of the hair.
I think it's because of the hair. The hair makes him look younger. Here, with the kind of droopy fringe hair, makes him look older. But it's still convincing enough to be like...
Oh, I noticed it, and then I was like, and then I moved on.
As soon as you go, what's wrong with his hair? And then when he starts acting like the 10th Doctor again, you go, okay, I'm with you now. There's just that moment you are. If you look at pictures of him, then you go, what's going on there?
But
when you see it in movement, you go, it doesn't matter. Because especially throughout his era, his hair changes anyway.
Yeah.
In Series 2, it's closer to this style than it is to spiky anyway. So you kind of just roll with it a bit.
But
you get Kate Stewart in it.
She was good.
Prior to this point, has only appeared in one episode.
I think her best kind of Doctor Who appearances.
Yeah, I think also it's one of those characters you need to have here because the Brigadier has such a big impact on Doctor Who lore. We can't have the actor anymore. but we have a character who is his daughter.
Bring her in.
She's got to be in it. She has to be in it, and she does a very good job. Osgood, not as good as she goes on to be in the Capaldi
Osgood
era.
was good, but not as good as Osgood will be.
Yes, but again, I think it's really for that character. If that character had been introduced anywhere else in Doctor Who, I think I'd be a bit annoyed. I'd be like, why are you creating this weird where's Doctor Who's half outfit kind of things? But introducing her in the 50th, where we're all sat in the cinema wearing those clothes she was wearing.
It gives us a little bit of an outlet.
I'm with you. It's
Or an inlet.
It's the fan in Doctor Who. And I'm kind of
It's an inlet.
I'm with that.
I'm going to call it an inlet.
And then
It
obviously
sounds
you've
weird.
also got Billie Piper returning for the 78th time.
Honestly, she was wonderful in it. I love 70th. Funny man. No, she was
Because
she was
comes
great.
back in series 4.
She was
comes
great
back
in
again.
this.
She
She
comes
was-
back.
It is obvious, but she's great because she's not playing Rose. She's
Which
playing,
is what I like.
she's playing the moment in a very, very interesting way through the guise of Rose, like knowing stuff and that kind of thing. Mentions Bad Wolf, and it's quite funny how Tennant's like, "You fucking what?" And
That's
we,
the thing that
we
some
move
people-
on a bit quickly, but it's
I
a funny
find that
moment.
that's one of those things I find it funny. Some fans find it frustrating.
Why?
Is that David Tennant and Billie Piper never speak to each other in this episode. But I love that they do actually share the same frame. They are together, but they don't look at each other. And I just find it quite funny that we go, we have got their reunion on screen. There we are. Yet they don't speak to each other.
Because it's not Rose, so I
No.
don't think he
And I also-
shouldn't have met her.
Yeah, and I also think, I mean, if you want that, I would point you to The Stolen Earth. I would point you to The End of Time. We've seen him reunite with her twice. Do we need to see it again?
No.
Not really.
Maybe it would have been done in an interesting way, but the thing is, it's fundamentally not Rose. So there wouldn't have been a connection there. And you probably would have come away from that being, ooh, that felt
You'd
weird.
have just gone, oh, if he's going to reunite with her, at least be the real one.
Yeah.
Rather than just not
But in
see
this
it.
moment, you get a little, hey, and that's it. And it's nice.
Yeah.
I just really like that.
The only thing that I would change about the moment is that I would have more returning companions.
Have it switch.
I would have
yeah.
her cycling through. I just think that'd be slightly better than it being like, why is it chosen Rose of all people? That seems like just
Can't
a-
choose Jenna.
like it really is just like if you think about it, it's just like not just like practically like bringing actors or anything. If you think about it like from a like just the story perspective, why is Rose the only one it's latched onto? Because the Doctor hasn't met her yet. I think because it is this kind of bonkers time thing, I would prefer to have jumped between people. Maybe have Louise Jameson come back, have Carol Ann Ford companion. I'll give you companion names. Maybe have Leela come back.
Thank
Maybe have
you.
Susan come
I was
back.
struggling a bit.
Have like Susan, Leela, Ace, Tegan. Just have these people like I'd say give more classic than new, but just kind of have. You could even have bloody Martha appear. Just people. Not sure it might work.
No,
as
actually.
well.
I think if you were
about
to have
it.
Martha appear in this, just make her a part of unit. But
Yeah, I think just have just a few more being like, this is a form that you may recognize. Or maybe it's this one, maybe this one. And he'd just be like, stop, pack it and just maybe just settle on Rose. Maybe he's like gone through loads of these. He's gone, right, I've had enough now. Just
I would have
stay
liked
with that one.
Yeah. So at the point the audience is getting annoyed with the constant switching, the Doctor does kind of thing.
Yeah, just like go, okay, just stick with one face, for God's sake.
Yeah.
And it just kind of just be Rose. Then I'd be like, okay, it's shuffled and it's landed on her, rather than just being like, I'm going to be Rose. That's my only complaint,
Yeah.
probably with this whole episode.
But then again, to be fair, Rose does have a kind of a lot of like she meets the Doctor a lot and is kind of time related. A lot of her stories are. So I can understand why the moment picks her, because maybe not that she's the most significant, but in terms of timey-wimey shit, she kind of is.
and maybe also
But
because
then again, Donna would be is also. But it's I just go with
and
it.
maybe also because
Shuffle cards and they got that one.
Yeah, maybe because when Rose is in it, and she says, in this form, I'm Bad Wolf. Technically, she's not actually Rose. She's more Bad Wolf. So it is then
This big
it's
moment.
a character who connected with the TARDIS to save the Doctor and defeat Daleks. So maybe it is the most appropriate one for a war that will save the Doctor and defeat Daleks. Maybe it is more appropriate. But I just think
It'd be interesting.
I'd have liked to have
yeah,
seen
I
just a
get you.
little bit more.
But all in all, I think it's a very, very, it's a very, very good. It's an incredible episode. And
It
it's
is,
Doctor
and I
Who at
mean-
its finest.
And it's like, I've got other stuff here that are like obvious things that you think are brilliant. Like, it does have fan service in it. It does. But they are done in a way that is slightly, You may not notice it, you may not recognize it, but if you do, you go, oh my God, that's that thing. Just opening with this 1963 title is just a brilliant way of doing it.
Oh, that was wonderful.
Very easily just to have Matt Smith's theme or create a new theme for it. The end titles is a new vortex. So you could have just had that at the start. But instead it was like, let's give you the 63 titles. And then it even has the police officer walking past Iron Foreman.
Mm-hmm.
I like that detail. When you bloody shot off Coal Hill School, which is obviously the first time that's appeared in New Who, then will become a big factor of next series. You've got Principal or Governor, whatever it said. I. Chesterton, the first Doctor's companion. I love little details like that that are just like, most people just watch that, means nothing. But if you recognize it, you go, oh my God, that's amazing.
It would have meant something to me if I was reading. I was just, unfortunately, I wasn't in Easter egg mode. I was just in Doctor Who, hello, and ironing a shirt. But we won't get into that.
Yeah, but it's just one of those things. I like that. It's one of those things. If you've seen 60s Doctor Who, you know what they're doing. If you've not, if you've seen it, you know what they're doing. You're gonna love it. If you've not, doesn't matter. It's not gonna detract from anything. I love that. What else have I got? Just a quick fire before we need to wrap this up.
Yeah, shoot. If we don't mention anything, feel free to have a go at us. Or actually, if we haven't mentioned anything, I promise you we have, because we're mentioning everything. So just go back and re-listen.
If you've not heard us say anything, it's because it was cut out. That's why.
No, it's because you missed it. So go back and listen.
Curator, there's an obvious one.
That was sweet.
Have the Curator. I still think that's one of the most beautiful scenes of Doctor Who ever. Because this episode it's a celebration of all Doctor Who, yes, but I'd say there's far more of a focus on New Who.
Yeah.
That's obvious because these are all the actors that still
Time
look
War is
like...
something invented in New Who anyway.
It looks like that's something invented in New Who. All the actors from New Who still look like the Doctors. Same can't be said for Classic Who, which...
apart from Paul McGann.
Still from Paul McGann.
But he was in an episode.
He still had his involvement in the 50th anyway. But I like the War Doctor is essentially, even though he's a New Who character, he acts as this Classic Who surrogate. And the whole thing where he's bantering with the new Doctors, like when they're doing all this stuff with the sonic screwdriver, he just goes, they're scientific instruments. What are you going to do? Assemble a cabinet at them? I like those moments because that's actually classic. That's not just a grumpy Doctor having an argument with an excitable Doctor. That's Classic Who arguing with New Who.
Yeah.
And I like all those moments.
He feels like an outlet, or as you said, a surrogate for Classic Who, coming through into New Who.
Exactly. And then you do have these moments of, like, even his Sonic is a classic Sonic, but they removed the end and put a light on it. That's what his Sonic is, which I think is a really nice detail. Where it's kind of this halfway between thing. TARDIS as well. His TARDIS is a halfway between things.
Yeah.
You've got Eccleston's console with the roundels and all that kind of things. I love the round things. What are the round things? No idea. But the Curator...
you've redecorated. I don't like it.
I love that line. That's the line they bring through.
And I understand it.
Yes. Yeah. You've seen other versions of it now. But the Curator is a way to have... We've had this big celebration of... There's loads of classic stuff in here, but we're focusing on New Who. But it's kind of like they get to the end and they go... It's like... No, it's not oops. I think it's they get to the end and they kind of go, did you really think we weren't going to have any Classic Who? Here's the bloody fourth Doctor. And you get to the end of that, and that's when everyone just goes, oh my God. I mean, when I saw it in the cinema, everybody was like, woo! Like the bit that got the biggest clap until the end. It's the first time you go to cinemas now, people have got, I think cinemas have got slightly more Americanized now, where you see things, people go, woo!
And I want to hit
now. Them. The first time I ever had that in a cinema was for the 60th, for the 50th anniversary. And the biggest clap it got until the end was when Capaldi's eyes appeared, which obviously I love. I kind of mark the Day of the Doctor as the start of the Capaldi era.
Yeah.
And
it does feel it in writing terms, to be fair.
And it obviously then you get threads like the Zygons stuff and Osgood and all these things that do carry on forward, and they're more Capaldi era stuff than Matt Smith stuff. Anyway, that got a massive round of applause when his eyes appear. But the biggest one, where everybody was like, woo! Was when people... Like, some people twigged it when they heard Tom Baker's voice. I didn't quite yet, even though he's got an iconic voice.
You were thick.
When I just said, you really think you're... I know you...
Just hurry up.
I really think you might. When I heard that bit, I was like, who's that? Whereas some people in cinema was like, I know who that is. When it showed his face, that's when everybody was like, oh my God, this is insane. You saw people around the room crying. And like, just that moment, I'm just like, this is still incredible. It's like, you've still got Tom Baker, who's still alive and kicking, still has it. And he's done this beautiful scene where you've created... one of these chances where if the Doctor has a favourite face, you'll go back and revisit it.
I like that.
And I like that as an idea. And it looks like we're getting it for the 60th, potentially.
Yes.
We were going to talk some other stuff, but we've actually run out of time.
We have, unfortunately.
So that is it.
That is it.
What would you give Day the Doctor out of 10?
13 out of 10.
Sure. I'm giving it a 10 because I love it. The more I talk about it, I think it is my favourite episode. As much as I've said that about others, and you go, hey, here we go again.
I gave it a 13 because all 13 Doctors.
Yes, I did get it. Yes, I did.
You seem really disappointed with me.
No, I did get it. I am going to say it's my favourite until I watch Stolen Earth again. But even Stolen Earth is very self-contained to its own era.
I think this
and
is
this
the best.
encapsulates all eras.
I think this is the best Doctor Who as a whole unit can be so far.
Yeah.
And I love it for that. For me, it'd be interesting to see what the 60th does. I think for it to be successful, personally, because you asked me to mention this, it needs to be focused on character. Because I think the reason this works is because it's a huge character moment and it explores the Doctor meaningfully.
Yes.
If you want it to be as good as this, you have to do that. I'm okay if it's not as good as this, but if you want it to be, I feel like that's the way you got to go.
Two things for me important like that. One of them, yes, is character. We have to be focusing on why are we doing this? We're not just bringing David Tennant back because he's fun. Why are we bringing him back? Secondly, it can't just be a celebration of the Rusty Davies era. I know he's going to be tempted just to bring all of his stuff back. It can't. It has to be a celebration of all of Doctor Who, which is what I need. But yes, that's what we want going forward. You will hear our thoughts on that. Don't think because this is the last Exterminating Doctor Who, you won't hear our thoughts.
You'll hear our thoughts, I promise.
We'll still be podcasting in a year and 5 months' time, which is how far away the 16th anniversary is. But yes, that is it for Exterminating Doctor Who. Thank you to everybody that has listened.
Every single person out there.
Not going to name like 500 names.
No, but thank you everyone who's listened, even if it was one episode, for all the episodes, no matter how much, how little, etc. Just it means a lot for you to listen, and this meant a lot for both of us. Means a lot for me because it got me back into Doctor Who.
Got me back into Doctor Who really big time.
Yeah.
I've always been a Doctor Who fan, but when I planned it, coming off the back of another Doctor Who podcast, I was going, I want to do my own Doctor Who podcast, and I am now so into Doctor Who, it's ridiculous, and that wouldn't have been possible without this podcast, I don't think.
And it kept us sane during university times, which has been...
Through COVID university times, importantly, as well.
So just a huge thank you to everyone who's listening and has listened. And we will be back in one form or another, which we will reveal at some point.
Yes. Well, you can have the name.
Do you want to give him a name?
We'll give you a name, but you won't be seeing a logo or anything soon. We will be back with a podcast called The Hot Take Cinema Club. So you will be hearing more of us.
Whether you like it or not.
But
this is the end of EW.
That will very much be our default podcast, very much, rather than having a focus like Doctor Who or like Batman, where we had two things running concurrently. It will be a thing where we can do both, basically.
Yes. Not just Batman and Doctor Who.
We'll
do lots of other things. Do not worry.
Far other things. We've got many episodes planned for that. But yeah, you will hear from us again, just not under the Exterminating Doctor Who banner. So we are done
with Exterminating Doctor Who. Yeah.
Doctor Who has been exterminated.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Oh my God, I need to put an effect where we both get exterminated.
No, but genuinely, thank you, everyone, and we will see you. George and Aidan will return.
Yes, like the end of a Marvel film.
Yeah.
Or a Bond film.
DC film.
George and Aidan will return.
We will.
I can't say same bat time, same bat channel because I don't know when it will be yet. I can say same bat channel, but not same bat time.
But sometime. But no, genuinely, thank you everyone for listening, and we shall see you again.
And goodbye.
Bye-bye.
I don't want to go. Doctor, I let you go.
Doctors are weeping.